We did nothing wrong!
Yeah, we did. We were supposed to fight for people who couldn't fight for themselves.
The Bible and government. Okay, so if you look at the thumbnail photo, you're going to see a photograph of myself with President Trump during his 2016 campaign. My wife ordered the tickets, and 3 close family members, Tommy, Rochelle, and Susie, arranged for us to be in the front where he was greeting people. He passed by us the first time, and we as a crowd yelled out, "Mr. Trump, Mr. Trump," and he turned around and came back right around to our area. And I said to him, "Mr. Trump, I'm a vet, can I get a pic?" And immediately, of course, obviously he saw the USMC and the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor, but immediately he stopped and he gave me 100% of his attention. Now, I said all that to say this: regardless of what you think of President Trump, whether you agree with him on policy, disagree with him on policy, he is, in fact, from my perspective, a sincere, authentic, and genuine person who wants to make the country better. Okay. Now, regardless of who wins the election in 2024 or in any other subsequent elections, we have to remember something. Whoever the government official is, the governor, the senator, the representative, the president, the vice president, Romans chapter 13 is still in the book. The powers that be, Paul says, are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resists the power, resists the ordinance of God. And they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. Now, of course, that damnation is not eternal condemnation. That is a reference to damnation in the sense of being condemned by the legal system and by the justice system. And in some cases, if you resist a law enforcement officer or a public officer, that public officer then has to use force in some cases upon you because you are resisting authority. Okay. The other thing we want to say, so regardless of who wins the election, we are to submit to those authorities. Okay. As a matter of fact, 1 Timothy chapter 2, Paul says, pray for kings and all that are in authority, that we may lead a what? Quiet and peaceful life in all godliness and honesty. Who was the king when Paul said this? The Roman Caesar Nero, who was a paranoid, psychopathic, sociopathic, demon-possessed lunatic. And Paul said, pray for all those who are in authority. Why? Because the powers that be, even Nero, was ordained of God to be in that authoritative position. Another example would be when Nebuchadnezzar overran Jerusalem and besieged it. Daniel chapter 1. We also remember in parallel passages in the prophet Isaiah, for example, in Isaiah 36, when those of Judah thought to flee to Egypt, and God warned them, don't flee to Egypt because Pharaoh isn't going to save you, because I am going to ordain Nebuchadnezzar and grant him the power and the influence to even overrun all the way to the river of Egypt. And so humble yourselves and serve King Nebuchadnezzar. In other words, this thing is of me. And regardless of whether or not in Revelation chapter 13, in conjunction with Revelation chapter 17, regardless of whether or not if the pervasive beast globally includes the United States or not, I can't say for sure whether we are going to be a part of it or not. But in either case, we are to humble ourselves and to serve the government, but also acknowledging the fact that we should have the freedom to serve our God first and foremost. But as long as the government doesn't hinder our ability to worship God, there should be no problems and no issues, whatever government we end up with. Now, of course, we have the Constitution. We have a republic. We have never had a democracy. Never. There are elements of democracy in it in the sense that we elect representatives to represent the people. But we've never had a pure democracy, and that's a good thing, because that would mean that 51% of the people can tell 49% of the people what to do, how to live, how to walk, how to talk, and how to chew gum. And we don't want that. We have a system of checks and balances, 3 branches of government as well, recorded in the Constitution for good reasons, okay? And the system, believe it or not, works. It's the best that we have today. The only thing better than the U.S. Constitution will be when the Messiah returns and is coronated as Melech HaMelachim, the King of Kings. When he returns, then of course his system is going to be the most perfect. Okay, and then of course the Word of God will be the authority that we will all follow and will be executed throughout all of the land globally. However, for right now, the constitutional republic is what we have. It is a system of checks and balances. It is as good as it gets, and whoever wins the election wins the election. And we are to humble ourselves to the authorities, and we are to pray for whatever president wins the election. We are to pray for them that God gives them wisdom and discernment in a position of extreme pressure, both internally and externally, within the cabinet and without their presidential cabinet. And so the fundamental thing to remember here is that whatever government is reigning over us, that government is established and ordained by God. And we are, in fact, to submit to that government, so long as we still have the liberty to worship the way we want to worship. There should be no law, First Amendment, respecting the establishment of religion, nor prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And people of China and people who are citizens of that country do not enjoy that freedom like we do. Thank God we still have that United States of America. And thank God America stands with Israel. And everybody have a blessed day.